There's something that every woman needs to understand about men. Something that most discover only after it's too late. A man doesn't start missing you when you're gone. He starts missing you when he realizes he no longer has access to the version of you that made him feel special. And the moment that realization hits him, when he notices the energy has changed, when your attention is no longer directed toward him, that's when it begins to hurt. You see, men don't miss presence. They miss impact. They miss the emotional experience of feeling chosen, admired, and desired. But when a woman stops doing two very specific things, everything inside a man begins to shift. His ego, his desire, his sense of control, all of it gets shaken. In the beginning, he may act like he doesn't care. He may even seem colder, more distant, more confident without you. He might post more, go out more, talk louder, laugh harder, as if he's proving to the world he's doing just fine. But inside, there's a silent storm. Because deep down, men are not as detached as they pretend to be. They feel the void, but only when something triggers their emotional contrast. And that contrast begins when you stop feeding the parts of his ego that depended on your presence. Every man, no matter how confident or independent he seems, secretly craves to be admired by the woman who once looked at him like he was one of a kind. That admiration becomes emotional fuel, and when that fuel is suddenly gone, his system crashes. That's when confusion, regret, and nostalgia start to appear. But it doesn't happen immediately. It happens only when a woman unknowingly stops doing two behaviors that once kept his emotions anchored to her. So if you've ever wondered why a man suddenly pulls away after being so close, or why he seems indifferent until the moment you stop chasing, this video will give you clarity. Because there's a silent psychology behind missing someone, and once you understand it, you'll never question his behavior again. Men are emotionally wired in a way that makes them appreciate value only through loss. They associate emotional depth with absence, not presence. When something feels too available, their attention drifts. But when it becomes scarce, their emotions wake up. And that's exactly why some men don't realize what they had until it's already gone. Because you kept giving them something they no longer earned, and they stopped valuing it. Now here's the truth. No one tells you. Missing someone isn't about missing their face, their voice, or even their love. It's about missing the emotional state that person used to create inside of you. And for men, that emotional state is tied to two very powerful feminine energies: the way you make him feel admired, and the way you make him feel needed. When those two disappear, a man doesn't just notice, he panics internally. He won't admit it, he won't tell you, but you'll see it in small ways. He starts checking your stories again. He lingers on your profile. He remembers details he once ignored. He gets curious about your life again, not because of love, but because of the psychological tension of losing something he thought was guaranteed. And this is where the game changes. Because once you learn what these two behaviors are, and why stopping them shifts the emotional power dynamic between you and him, you'll finally understand what truly makes a man miss you, not from need, but from emotional attachment. So before you overthink his silence, before you chase his attention, and before you try to remind him of your worth, listen carefully. Because sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is to stop doing the very things that make him comfortable, and start doing the things that make him remember who you were when he first fell for you. This is not about manipulation. It's about emotional awareness. It's about understanding the invisible patterns that make a man emotionally bond, detach, and eventually regret. And today we'll go deep into those patterns. Because once you stop doing these two things, you won't need to wonder if he misses you. He simply will. Let me tell you a story that will sound painfully familiar to many women. She met him during a phase of her life when everything felt exciting again. He was charming in that effortless way. Not overly romantic, but attentive enough to make her feel chosen. They would talk for hours, sharing jokes, dreams, and small secrets that made her feel like they had something rare. He wasn't perfect, but he made her feel safe, seen, wanted. In the beginning, he used to text her first thing in the morning. He'd send little updates throughout the day, saying things like, "I can't stop thinking about you," or "You make everything feel lighter." And she believed him, because his eyes, his words, and his actions all seemed to match. She started investing herself emotionally. She opened her heart, rearranged her schedule, and gave him what every man craves most: consistent emotional attention. She checked in on him, supported him when he was stressed, encouraged his goals, and made him feel like he was the most important person in her world. But slowly, things started to shift. The texts got shorter, the calls became less frequent. His excitement to see her turned into casual indifference, and she started wondering what went wrong. So she tried harder. She thought maybe he was just busy, maybe he needed more reassurance. So she began to give even more attention, more understanding, more patience. But the more she gave, the less he seemed to care, until one day she realized she was the only one trying. He still replied, but with the kind of effort that felt mechanical, polite, but detached. He didn't seem to care if they saw each other that week or not, and that's when the confusion began to eat her alive. How can someone who once cared so deeply suddenly become so distant? That question haunted her. She replayed their conversations in her head, wondering if she said something wrong. She checked her own messages, comparing how much she wrote versus how much he replied. She couldn't understand how the man who used to light up every time he saw her name on his phone could now go days without even checking in. That's when the emotional shift happened inside her. The part of her that kept trying started to burn out. The texts stopped. The calls stopped. The checking in stopped. Not as a game, but because she had nothing left to give. And something interesting happened. After days of silence, his name suddenly popped up on her screen again. "Hey, how have you been?" She stared at the message, a mix of shock and anger rushing through her. Where was this energy when she needed it? Why now, after she had finally stopped chasing? She didn't know it yet, but she had just triggered the first emotional switch inside him, the one that activates when a man senses a change in emotional availability. You see, men don't miss you when you cry, call, or chase. They miss you when the emotional atmosphere around them changes. When your energy, that warm, nurturing presence suddenly disappears, his mind goes into alert. He may not even realize it consciously, but he starts to feel something is missing. He starts thinking about her in random moments, during a drive, at work, while watching something funny online. His mind starts associating small things with her, the scent she wore, the way she said his name, the softness in her tone. And suddenly, he starts to miss her. But here's the twist. He doesn't miss her because she's gone. He misses her because she stopped doing two emotional behaviors that once made him feel significant. The woman in this story didn't plan to pull away. She just got tired of carrying all the emotional weight. But in that exhaustion, she did something powerful without realizing it. She stopped doing the two things that kept his ego comfortable. When a woman stops feeding a man's need for emotional validation and stops making herself constantly available, his perception of her changes instantly. He starts to remember how he felt at the beginning. He starts to compare her silence to her old warmth. He begins to crave the emotional atmosphere she once created. This is the moment that many women confuse with him finally realizing my worth. But it's not realization, it's withdrawal. It's the emotional panic that sets in when a man's comfort gets interrupted. That's why understanding this story matters. Because behind every man who suddenly comes back, there's a woman who unknowingly stopped doing something that used to feed his ego. She didn't chase, she didn't explain, she didn't beg. She simply stopped giving what he took for granted. And that silence, that emotional gap, became the loudest sound in his world. What happened to her next wasn't magic. It was psychology. The same pattern that happens in almost every relationship where a man loses interest too easily and suddenly starts to miss the woman once she stops doing these two simple things. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside a man when he starts missing you, and why he only does after you stop doing two things that once made him feel emotionally secure. These two behaviors seem innocent, even loving, but they slowly train a man's brain to believe your energy is permanent, that he doesn't need to earn it, that he can always come back whenever he wants. The first one is constant emotional availability. When you're always there, replying fast, initiating conversations, checking how he feels, making sure he's okay, you're teaching his subconscious that your attention is guaranteed. And when something feels guaranteed, it stops being valued. It's not that he's ungrateful. It's psychological adaptation. His nervous system stops reacting to your presence because there's no uncertainty, no risk. And men, by nature, are addicted to challenge. A man feels alive when he's earning something, when there's movement, when he's pursuing, when he's slightly unsure if he still has your full attention. But when you become too emotionally available, you remove that challenge. He stops chasing, he starts observing instead of engaging, and slowly he disconnects emotionally. Because the reward is now predictable. He doesn't feel the same spark anymore. Not because you changed, but because the psychological tension that fuels desire disappeared. He might start taking longer to reply. He might seem distracted, he might act colder, but deep down it's not rejection, it's familiarity fatigue. Now here's where the switch happens. When you stop being constantly emotionally available, when you stop checking in first, when you stop reacting to every small thing, suddenly, that same man who acted indifferent starts to feel uneasy. His brain starts asking questions. Why isn't she texting like before? Who's she talking to now? Why do I feel this emptiness when she's quiet? It's not love yet. It's awareness. But awareness is the first step toward missing you. He begins to realize that your attention wasn't just communication. It was validation. It was emotional oxygen. And now, that oxygen is gone. The second thing that makes a man truly miss you is stopping the need to prove your worth. Most women don't even notice they're doing it. They try to keep the connection alive by explaining, overgiving, or proving their value, hoping he'll see what he's losing. But the truth is, the more you try to convince a man of your worth, the less he feels it. Because the feminine power doesn't come from convincing, it comes from contrast. When you stop proving, you create space. Space is what a man's mind needs to process loss. He can't miss what's constantly reminding him it's still there. So when you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop trying to fix the distance, when you stop showing that you care more than he does, he finally feels what absence actually means. At first, he might think it's nothing. He'll brush it off. He'll think, she's just busy. But as the days pass, his ego starts getting uncomfortable. He's used to being the center of your emotional world, and now that spotlight is gone. He starts remembering things he never noticed before. The way you used to say his name, the softness of your presence, the way your laughter made him feel important. His mind will try to fill that silence with logic, but emotions don't obey logic. So he starts to crave the emotional contrast that your absence created. That's when he starts looking for signs of you again. That's when missing you becomes unavoidable. You see, these two changes, no longer being constantly emotionally available and no longer proving your worth, are not tactics. They're natural consequences of self-respect. When you stop centering your world around him, his world starts to feel empty. He begins to notice the weight of your energy, not because you gave more, but because you finally pulled it back. And that's the paradox most women don't realize. You don't make a man miss you by doing more. You make him miss you by doing less, but with intention, by protecting your energy, by letting silence speak louder than your explanations, by showing through your actions that your attention is not something anyone can take for granted. A man's emotions are slow. They awaken only through absence. But once that process starts, it doesn't stop quickly. He'll start replaying your conversations. He'll scroll through your photos. He'll wonder if someone else now gets the version of you he once had. And the more he imagines that, the stronger his attachment becomes. He may not reach out right away, because his pride will fight it. But eventually, he will. Because what he's missing isn't control, or even your love. It's the feeling of being emotionally seen by you. And when that disappears, he feels incomplete. So remember this. The moment you stop being emotionally available, and you stop trying to prove your value, is the moment he starts to see it for the first time. Not because he finally woke up, but because your silence forced him to. Here's what usually happens next, and why this stage is the most dangerous for you. When a man starts to miss you, he doesn't come back out of love at first. He comes back out of discomfort. He misses the emotional security your presence used to give him. He wants relief from the emptiness he now feels. But if you're not careful, you'll mistake that discomfort for genuine change. When he reaches out again with that message that says, "Hey, how have you been?" Or, "I was just thinking about you," your heart reacts before your mind does. You feel that rush of validation, that little spark that says he finally realized what he lost. But in reality, most men don't realize yet. They just feel the contrast. And if you immediately fall back into your old habits, answering too quickly, giving too much, explaining too deeply, the cycle restarts. He'll feel safe again, and his emotions will reset to comfort. And once he's comfortable, he stops missing you. That's why this stage requires emotional discipline, because the way you respond now determines whether his feelings grow or fade. If you break your silence too soon, you confirm to him that you were waiting. If you start proving again, you teach him that he doesn't need to earn your effort. If you give your presence before he gives clarity, he learns that your energy is free. And once a man believes your energy is free, he'll never treasure it. You have to understand, men don't value effort, they value rarity. They associate meaning with scarcity. The things they can't easily access hold the most emotional weight in their minds. That's why when you stop being emotionally available, your value doesn't decrease, it multiplies. Because now he sees what it's like to live without the energy that once made his world feel balanced. But if you rush back, if you fill the silence he was supposed to feel, you interrupt his emotional awakening. You save him from the discomfort that was meant to make him grow. And that's why so many women end up stuck in emotional loops, constantly being missed but never truly valued. There's something powerful that happens when you stay still, when you don't react. The silence becomes your strength. He starts replaying memories not because you reminded him, but because his mind does it for him. Men process emotions through absence, through contrast. And the longer he sits with that contrast, the more he realizes what your presence actually meant. But you have to let that process unfold. Don't rescue him from it. Don't break the tension that's teaching him your value. Every time you do, you reset his emotional clock back to zero. Understand this clearly. When you stop doing those two things, giving constant emotional availability and proving your worth, you're not playing games. You're restoring balance. You're shifting the dynamic from dependency to equality. And that's when the true version of him appears. Because when a man misses you deeply, he faces a choice: evolve or repeat. If he's mature, that emptiness will turn into reflection. He'll realize how much he took for granted. He'll come back with consistency, clarity, and effort. But if he's still emotionally lazy, he'll come back for comfort and leave again once he's full. That's why you must protect your peace during this stage. Don't confuse missing you with deserving you. Let his actions prove that the absence changed him, not his words. The hardest part is staying calm when your emotions are begging for closure. But that's exactly where your power lies. Because the moment you choose silence over reaction, you become the mirror that forces him to see himself clearly. And trust me, nothing haunts a man more than realizing he lost the woman who once gave everything and now gives nothing but calm indifference. That's when the regret begins to grow. Slowly, quietly, irreversibly. At some point, every woman reaches a moment of awakening. The moment she stops asking, "Why doesn't he miss me?" and starts asking, "Why am I still giving to someone who doesn't value it?" That's the shift. That's the exact point where your energy begins to transform from desperate to magnetic. Because men don't fall in love with the woman who needs them. They fall in love with the woman they can't completely understand. The one who gives warmth but keeps her peace. Who can care deeply without losing herself. And the only way to become that woman is to stop doing the two things that drain your power. Chasing emotional reassurance and proving your worth to someone who stopped earning it. When you stop doing those two things, something powerful happens inside you. You stop moving from fear and start moving from confidence. You no longer wait for a message to validate your day. You no longer replay his words looking for meaning. You become centered again, calm, grounded, unbothered. And that energy, more than anything else, is what makes a man truly miss you. Because now, the contrast is complete. You used to give freely, now you choose wisely. You used to explain yourself, now your silence speaks louder. You used to try to hold the connection together, now you let it fall apart if it's not mutual. And that shift doesn't just affect him, it heals you. It makes you realize that your power was never in being chosen. It was always in choosing yourself first. When you protect your peace, you change your presence. When you stop proving, you change your vibration. And when you stop being available to everything and everyone, you start becoming valuable to the right people. You see, a man only misses what he can no longer control. And when he realizes that your love no longer revolves around him, that you're no longer emotionally predictable, that's when the real missing begins. Not because you're gone, but because your energy has evolved beyond his reach. He'll remember the way you made him feel safe. He'll remember the way your voice softened his walls. He'll remember the laughter, the calm, the connection, and he'll wonder how he lost something that rare. And the truth is, he didn't lose you because he wasn't enough. He lost you because he stopped trying. He stopped appreciating what was freely given. He forgot that love without effort dies slowly in comfort. So if you're in that space right now, where you feel the urge to reach out, to explain, to remind him of who you are, Take a deep breath. Don't move. Let the silence do the work that words never could. Let him feel the distance he created. Let him experience the absence he once ignored. Because when a woman stops doing the two things that made her lose herself, overgiving and overproving, she becomes unforgettable. You don't need to teach him a lesson. Life and contrast will do it for you. You just have to stay centered long enough to let him notice what he walked away from. One day he'll remember the version of you that smiled without trying, that loved without fear, that made him feel like home. And he'll realize that the same woman who once gave everything could also disappear without a single explanation. That's when he'll truly miss you. Not because you're gone, but because you finally learned how to stay gone. And that right there is where your story changes. Because from that moment on, you no longer wait to be valued. You become the one who decides who gets access to your peace, your heart, your time, and your energy. You don't chase anymore. You don't beg anymore. You simply exist, in your power, in your silence, and in your truth. And that's the kind of woman no man ever forgets.